welcome to Andertons TV. You may see one or two new faces on here, or maybe they are familiar faces, but
certainly new face
absolutely.
on the floor.
Justin Sarnico from JustinGuitar.com, one of the biggest guitar tuition channels on YouTube, and has been teaching me some guitar over the last year or so, but has taught hundreds of thousands of people how to play guitar online. Massive YouTube channel, and Pete,
and me.
you will know as our resident maestro. And we were talking about, Justin was saying he's asked all the time on his channel for help from beginners, guitar beginners, about what guitars should I buy, what amp should I buy, what pedals should I buy.
Yeah.
So we thought,
help,
let's get together.
Let's do. 100% certain. It's all down to playability for a beginner. You've got to find a guitar that is nice to play. If you have a guitar that's got a high action, which is when the strings are far away from the fretboard, most beginners will give up because it's too difficult. They can't fret the chords, so you get a lot of the finger pain and all that sort of stuff. And if you get a cheap acoustic guitar, they very rarely have a good action. Right?
Yeah.
Really, I've hardly seen any that, you have to spend a good...
Let me see if I can change your opinion on
okay.
that maybe in a later video.
Yeah, exactly, because this is going to be a series, isn't it?
Yeah.
This particular video is going to be split into 3 parts, I think, just to make it easier for you to watch. The first part, we're just going to talk about the guitar. The second part, we're going to talk about the amps, and I've chosen with Justin 4 amps that I think are good for different prices, all low prices. And the final part, we're going to talk about pedals and whether or not they're a good idea or a bad idea
for beginners.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all about beginners.
Do you want to fire? What's the most commonly asked question that you get then?
The most common is, which one should I get? Which is just difficult because I actually think the choice of guitar is kind of important. You need to find one that plays really nicely, that plays easy with this low action. But the other part is I think you have to really like it. So it's really difficult to try and choose one that somebody says, because you have to find the one that you connect with a bit. So I think either looking online or going into a store and finding the one that appeals to you, then trying to play it. And if it's got a horrible action, either buying it and getting somebody to fix it up to make the action lower to make it playable, or finding ones with that similar look and similar feel or style that you like, that has that lower action. I think that's really the key thing.
You're talking about inspiration, basically. You're talking about buying a guitar that when you get home, you put it on a stand on the sofa, and you're going to go, oh, I'm going to just play that. I want to play that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
I do.
I've chosen 3 brands for this particular section. Fender and Gibson are the 2 biggest guitar brands in the world. Both of these brands have a subsidiary brand that they'll use for their more affordable stuff.
Is that the Australian subsidiary do?
Subsidiary do. Sorry. So the
I think you're familiar with those.
Squire will make the Fender copies, and Epiphone will make the Gibson copies. So we got those. Now they both make great guitars, but for affordability, what you'll typically need to do is find a less famous brand who make good guitars, and then you can still get a great guitar, but not necessarily with the sort of prestige around owning the name on the headstock. Typically, Fender, you're going to have to pass me a Squire now. I think that's behind you, isn't it?
It's
Fender are going
behind
to be most famous for making guitars like this, the Stratocaster, and also the Telecaster, which will look a bit more like the one Justin's got. And Gibson are going to be most famous for making guitars that look like this, or slightly flashier versions. Yes. The East Coast range makes a selection of copies that look a bit like all of those. So I guess the most affordable guitar that Anderton sells that I think is really, really good is this East Coast GS 100. It's
so let's talk because one of the questions that I get asked about all the time is not just the style, but what particularly to do with the pickup. So this one's got these little skinny pickups, and then it's got this other one which is like a double pickup, pickup. And so these are called single coil pickups, where they've just got one winding of copper around the little magnets. And if you put 2 of them together, they make less noise, and they're called humbucker pickups.
Less background noise.
Less background noise.
Less guitar noise.
They actually make more noise and are better for a kind of a rockier sound. So whereas that one's got 3 single coils, you get a little bit more on when you've selected this pickup. This one will be a bit meatier and a bit thicker sounding, better for perhaps if you like rock guitar. and a single coil one like that, which is a little bit more.
What's that one then?
What's that one?
That's shiny one there.
The shiny one is also a single coil type pickup.
Ah, okay.
I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just got a cover for a cosmetic.
Anyway,
in the East Coast range, again, these are both the same price, £99. There isn't, just because it's got the humbucker on doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just a different sound.
Yep.
Maybe Pete just wants to give us a strum, a few tones. All the amps that we're using, by the way, again, I've picked because they're affordable. So we'll go through those in part 2. But Pete is plugged into this little Fender Champion 20 here.
Wait, we're just room miking this, so there's no mics in front of it. So what you're hearing is just a couple of mics in the room. And here's a G chord. So that's what you would. That's your. So that's like the darker sound, right?
Yeah.
So. And here's when you put it in position 4. Almost more acoustic sound.
Just for those of you, I'm playing like the dumb dude here, just to make sure that people get it.
This is what we need to talk about.
On the guitar here, we've got these 2 different controls. This one says volume, this says tone, and you've got this switchy thing.
Yeah.
So the different pickups sound different. So this one will sound like brighter and more trebly, and this one will sound more round and fat. So let's just do the extreme. So do the round one. And then... They're really, really different. And if you're playing different songs, you want to have a different sound. So some songs you want it to be real bright, especially if you're playing rock stuff. You tend to be here unless you're doing the Jimi Hendrix, where you're probably likely to be here.
Yeah.
If you're doing Mark Knopfler, you're likely to be there or there with these pickup combinations.
Yeah.
So
and
it really
you can control
does make
volume. And you can control the volume, so you know so you can same it on the back.
Yeah.
And you control the tone, so
let's talk about tone. Yeah, exactly. So you can hear the really bright sounding pickup at the back when you roll the tone control off. Sounds like a guitar in the next room, is how I always... Yeah, so... And then you go outside the room and close the door.
That's a good analogy, I like that.
Well, yeah, but it's just that all of the top end has disappeared off the sound.
Yeah.
So nearly every guitar will have this kind of volume and tone thing. Sometimes you have 2 tone controls, which will control like...
What?
Oh, no, that one's
something
different.
there isn't one here.
No,
we haven't got any that have...
The original... So the original Fender Strat, which again would have been a professional instrument aimed at professional players, had 2 tone controls on it. One to do this pickup, this one did this pickup. This never had a tone control, so you always knew there was one position you could go straight to for a bright, cutting sort of tone. But I think as guitars have been aimed at more beginners and stuff like that, they've realised that kind of 2 control is a bit overkill for a
we don't need it.
And you can save a little bit of money by just having one tone control.
Even on my custom kind of Strat type guitar, I only have 1 tone control.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I think having multiple tone controls is kind of unnecessary.
I like it.
No,
but I play Telecasters, they've got the same configuration, but they so you only got 2 pickups.
So this, exactly.
But another thing is to also mention, I think, which is quite important, is for do you need a string-through body with a vibrato system? So this is another thing that you have to. There's so many things that you can look at when you buy guitars. This is £99. You look at a plate here, underneath here some springs, right? They're attached to a little metal block where you put your strings through, they come out on the other side, and then you string the guitar up. And as you can see, there's a little hole here, and we don't have the vibrato arm, but we've got a guitar for this.
It does come with one, I just haven't,
come with one.
I didn't take it out the box, my bad.
There we go.
Yeah, so plug it in, and on here now, if you can zoom in on that bit, what this does is it does that to the string, so you get this. Whether you need that or not, as a beginner, is that's another thing you have to have in your mind. Do you need that?
But I would recommend for beginners to either not use it completely,
take it off,
and even turn the guitar. What I would recommend for beginners: 1, take this off. You don't need it on there. It's like an extra bit of plastic that we don't need in the world.
Just don't throw it in the sea.
Just don't throw it in the sea.
Because turtles think it's a sandwich and they eat it. And it's,
a surfboard.
Yeah.
A smorgasbord.
There's a few reasons why you might want to take it off. 1, if you're changing strings, on the end of the string is a little metal ball, and very often, depending on where the tremolo is, the ball gets stuck between the back of the tremolo block and this plastic plate, which makes it really fiddly to get them off. I guess it's there to stop it being scratched or your belt touching on the springs of making a noise. But you really, it's just take it off and put it in a little bag somewhere. Put it in your guitar case.
For anyone health and safety conscious, there's no electricity or anything runs through a guitar. You're not going to find something dangerous exposed in there.
There is an earth wire though that goes through.
Yeah, it's for the micro voltage that the pickups create.
Exactly.
It's
not any mains level voltage.
You're exactly right. Yeah. It is. For beginners, that's why I reckon that all of the Squier, the bullets, have got a hardtail, as it's called. Like Telecaster, they stay in tune much better because there is nothing that can move here.
So this one we don't have any. Well, it's got like the strings still get fed through the back of the guitar, and come out the top, but there's no kind of moving parts to go out of tune. I think this kind of thing is really good, and if you've got one of this type of guitar with a tremolo, I just think take the bar out. Like, if you're going to use that kind of stuff, it's more for advanced guitar players. A beginner can play a chord and wobble it up and down. It kind of sounds interesting for about 5 minutes. So maybe put the bar in, give it a wobble around, get used to what it sounds like, and then get over it and put it back in the case and don't use it anymore.
If you're in the UK or Europe or somewhere where Andertons can ship to reasonably affordably, I would absolutely suggest that you look at the East Coast stuff. It's great value.
Yeah.
It is
Super
less
value.
expensive than the Squier.
Yeah.
It's a great, really well built product.
Yeah.
If you don't live there, you're somewhere else, there's bound to be another sort of version of East Coast near you. But if you're worried about buying a brand you haven't heard of, 100% you can get Squier anywhere in the world. It might be a little bit more expensive than the East Coast, but not a lot more expensive.
Or you can get Epiphone.
Well, we'll come to that when we do the
because this looks very different.
Yes,
so
it does.
That's the GS100. This is a Stratocaster. We often refer to these as Strat style. You have to be a bit careful with trademarks and things. But, so £99 for those. In fairness, actually, what Pete and Justin have ended up holding are deluxe versions of the two East Coast. So these are the same basic guitars, but with nicer timbers and slightly nicer pickups. So actually, for clarity, it's actually this one and the red one that I had, and a load of other colours, by the way. If it's a solid colour from East Coast, then these are the £99 one, and if they're the sort of posh see-through colours, they'll be a little bit not a lot more expensive, but a little bit more expensive.
Cool. And just so the most popular Fender type guitars are this Stratocaster type, or S type some people call it. This type, which has only got the single horn at the bottom and then a rounder thing at the top. Usually the position of the volume and tone is different on a Telecaster type or a T type guitar. And there's one other type over there which is kind of like is there a Mustang?
It's slightly less well known, but as you say, called the Mustang. It's the blue one. This, by the way, all these Squiers are from their Bullet series. It's important that we point that out, because the Bullet stuff is the stuff that's only a little bit more expensive than East Coast. There are other Squier guitars that can be 3 or 4 times as expensive as East Coast. So that's the Bullet. Same kind of basic idea of construction, a kind of a single piece of wood here with a bolted on neck. The really obvious difference. Oh, go on, what were you going to say?
There's strings coming in from the top this
from the
time.
bridge, so that'll be a slightly different sound. But the really obvious differences are now 2 humbuckers. It's going to sound different. And we can talk about this a little bit. It has a different scale length as well. So it's actually slightly shorter from here to here. You tune it the same, so it makes all the same notes, but the strings will feel looser and slacker, which some people prefer.
Which could make it easier as a beginner's guitar. Plus, it's a smaller guitar. It's much easier to sit with because you can't get your hand around it. So I mean,
is the neck narrower on that as well? Because a lot of the Mustangs have got slightly narrower.
I think the Bullets are the same.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Robbie McIntosh bought one of these.
Did he really? So on the Squier Bullet series, all of the kind of idiosyncrasies, if you like, that you'd perhaps associate with the differences between Strats and Tellys and Mustangs at a higher end are kind of not really there. It's really, the necks are all going to feel the same. The lot of the bridges are the same. The timbers are the same. It's a visual thing, and then an obvious tonal thing when you've got very different pickups in there.
And so that one's instead of having the sort of switching system that this one had where we had 5 different places, this one's got a 3-way, which is the front pickup, both pickups together, or the back pickup. Like a Telecaster only has a 3-way switch as well, so it's either front, both, or back.
So why doesn't one of you just or just using the same amplifier, let's get some basic sort of tones from the 3 guitars. And
okay, so I've got the Telecaster type. Let's do the front pickup first of all. Both and generally speaking, you want the volume and the tone all the way up if you as a starting point. A lot brighter.
The back pickup.
There is the 2 together, which is, as you'd expect, kind of halfway between. A bit fat, bright. It's actually pretty. Pretty
Sounds
decent.
great, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me hand you this one.
There
Same
we go.
amplifier.
Same amp, same everything, same fingers. Okay, so front pickup first. Might help if you turn the volume up. Sounds even a bit fatter.
I think the Telecasters or the T-style guitars are a little bit brighter.
Yeah, they
generally.
Yeah. Okay, this is the middle pickup. And the bridge pickup. Whoa.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
A lot more powerful. Let's just do those split positions as well. So the back and the middle together. And the front and the middle. Similar kind of thing.
And then just so you can hear the Squier bullets.
Yeah, I'm not expecting this to sound terribly different to that one.
No,
back
I'm
pickup.
not expecting. Here's the front. I like the front one on that.
It's full
better.
on this one here. Yeah.
The middle.
Still full on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Very.
That's the difference between having a single coil and a humbucker at the back.
Now let's just try it. Let's have a
Do you
go.
want to? I mean, this is. Don't get confused here. We've got 2 red guitars with white scratch plates.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
have a
so-
little listen to this. It's a bit fatter, isn't it?
I think that's
Slightly
a
fatter than
better.
Yeah.
I'm totally surprised, to be completely honest, that this sounds
It's great.
much better.
Look, so that's, as I said, you got £99 to do the East Coast thing, and bullets are typically like 120 to 140, depending on
So
what
not
model
a
you
huge
get.
difference.
No, not a big difference.
No.
And that's all. Anyway,
that-
look. So look, I
anyway,
think we've done the whole kind of classic Fender style guitars. So as I said, if you're in Europe, you're sort of, you can take your pick from Andertons as to whether or not you think the Squiers are better or the East Coast are better. Anywhere else in the world, as I said, Squier is the safe bet, in my opinion.
Okie dokie. Oh, what's this?
Now we're talking about. Now we've jumped over to a classic, and not, in my opinion, like the other classic design.
It is.
A Gibson Les Paul. We'll have to just put one on screen now. A Gibson Les Paul looks like this. Everybody knows what this looks like. Players like
Slash.
from Les Paul through to Slash, and everyone in between have played this guitar. However, it is by its very nature an expensive guitar to make. The Les Paul, if we take all of those Fenders, even the posh Fenders, are essentially a piece of what we call a slab body wood. So essentially it's flat on the top and flat on the bottom. That makes up the body, and then the neck is a separate piece of wood that bolts to it. That is inherently a very economical way of manufacturing a guitar. As soon as you go to a Gibson, traditionally a Gibson is a sandwich of woods. It's a mahogany body on the back. It's then a maple top, a piece of maple on the top, and to make things even more expensive, it's a carved maple top. In the olden days, that was all done by hand, but even now it's more expensive to make that than it is to do a slab body. And to make things even more difficult, the neck join on a proper Les Paul is glued in.
Yeah.
So again,
With the link thing that goes
because
down.
it's glued in, that has to be done by hand. The neck pockets and the neck joints invariably have to be sort of matched in a much more accurate way than There's a few other things on a Gibson Les Paul that make it expensive, but this is my own personal thing. I'm not sure that then makes this style of guitar a particularly good option for a beginner, especially not a beginner who's really price conscious. Because if you sort of said, right, what can I get for £100 then? The only way that Epiphone can do a £100 Les Paul is to make one using a slab body and a bolt-on neck. And then you sit there going, well, it's not really a Les Paul, is it now? It's a sort of, it's shape of a Les Paul. There is an East Coast version of it, which I think is closer looking because you have at least got the arch top now. It's certainly prettier looking. But if you flip it round, you'll notice it's still got the bolt-on neck. And you've got to go to £200 in the East Coast range before you get something that looks like that with a glued-in neck joint. And you've got to go to more like £250, £300 in the Epiphone range before you get that. So we're absolutely going to hear these. There'll absolutely be guitar players going, no, the whole reason I'm playing guitar is because of Slash and I have to have the guitar. But if you're, just accept that I don't think that it's as good value going down this route as if you were to go down the Fender style.
How much are these compared with the £100?
So that's $149 or $199 if you want the glued-in neck joint and the prettier
that's like either
top.
50% more expensive or double the price.
Absolutely. So, This one is more. This is more like 110, so that is pretty much in line with it. But given it's got the slab body and the bolt in it, it's really. I'll be totally honest with you. Other than maybe the bridge here being slightly different, there's not really a great deal of difference in the construction between these two. It's
three-way.
And both bolt-on necks. I said if you like the idea of two humbuckers, but maybe the idea of owning a Les Paul looking guitar isn't so important to you, that's where the Mustang comes in. I mean, the Mustang's not a brilliantly known guitar in the way that a Strat or a Telecaster is, but you've got players like Kurt Cobain kind of made these style guitars pretty famous.
They're great.
So let's have a little listen to these three.
Right?
Offset. Anything that's sort of like non-symmetrical is called an offset in the Fender range. Jaguars, Jazzmasters, Mustangs, all that kind of stuff.
Sally.
Nice thick sound.
Big fat sound.
That's the difference between having the single coil, so the single pickups, and having a humbucker.
And I think some people would even say that the fatter body, the different woods that are used, and even when you get into the glued-in neck, there's a certain something that it does to the tone and the sustain that makes a difference.
You can go deep.
You can absolutely go down a rabbit hole of what is the last 5% of tone,
but not in a couple of £100.
Well,
that's the curve of the money when money goes up, but maybe not.
I think interestingly, we're going to, this part of the video is all about the guitars and stuff like that. When we're really talking about the sound, I think when we get into the amplifiers, you're going to go, oh, hang on a second. It's like if I have a tiny amplifier, it doesn't matter what guitar I own, it's going to sound tiny.
If you put a £20,000 vintage guitar into a really small practice amp, you really won't hear any difference.
So it's Anyway, we digress.
But that's just to topic. Is this really important? I think that the choice of guitar is important. That you like it much more than really even what it sounds like. To some extent, it's got to be something that you really like, that inspires you to pick it up, and that plays nicely. That's the two key.
And I think message to parents here as well. I get a lot of mums and dads who come into the store and they're taking a very grown up and sort of sensible approach to buying their child's first guitar, and you can absolutely see the child is going, I just don't like the look of this. Dad's going to make me buy the guitar that Hank Marvin played, and I don't like it. And it's like,
I don't even know who Hank Marvin is.
Like logically, your dad or your mum it's the right guitar to buy. But if you don't like it and you never play it, it's completely the wrong guitar to buy.
There must be so many guitars sitting in corners of houses or in cupboards that been bought on something like that. And the kids go, I don't even want to play guitar, or whatever. I don't like it. I don't want to pick it up.
That's why I think one of the other decisions like that for parents is that if little Johnny's just learning guitar, he probably doesn't know what he likes yet or what he wants other than the appearance.
Just the look.
So it's better to buy a cheaper guitar that he likes the look of now.
Absolutely.
And then in a year's time or 2 years' time when he really knows and he's discovered that he loves Guns N' Roses or he loves Jeff Beck or John Mayer or whoever it is that he likes.
Dimebag is, at the end of the day, if the reason you want to play guitar is because of Dimebag, then chances are none of these guitars are really going to float your boat, and you need to just go and find something. It might be not that great a guitar, but it might look badass, and that's the one to buy to at least get you through the first 12 months.
Yeah, because it's that inspirational
Inspiration is so important in the beginning.
Playability and inspirational are the two key things.
I mean, we should just say again, I really approach this with, when Justin asked to do this, I really approach it. I'm purely and simply going on value. I'm not telling you that I think these guitars look cooler than anything else or anything. It's like whatever you like the look of is your own. So I'm just telling you that for value, this is where it's all at. Like the crazier shaped guitars are not, they're not going to feel as nice as these at these kind of prices. They probably don't even exist at these kind of prices.
No, not at all. And also, if you do see a guitar you really want and it's another 50 quid, go and get a paper round and get the money off. Go and mow some, do some lawns or whatever. Or, do some chores for your grandma.
Or get that red guitar and like get a blowtorch on it and cover it in stickers and carve bits out of it and make it look how you want it to look.
Exactly.
And then, but the most important thing is that you play.
And you want to play that guitar.
Let's hear it. Sorry, we
did have a little listen to this one.
Yeah, we did. Let's have it. So then I'll hand you this one and then.
Okay, let's have a.
No, let's start with that one again.
Okay,
just so we're fresh in here. Yeah, back.
Front pickup.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I remember us doing the video on these originally when they came in, and I was very impressed with the sound.
These are great.
We'll talk about distortion sounds, I think, when we get to part 2 when we talk about the amps.
Okay, so back pickup, everything's on board. As before, I slightly preferred that one. I think it seemed a bit grittier. Nice big round front sound. Front of this is nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know it's only a £40 difference between these two, but in percentage terms, that is nearly 50% more expensive than that one. So again, you are. There's a big percentage difference.
Anyway,
do you want to give this a little? Let's have a little. Hear what that sounds like as well.
Okay, so the bridge pickup. Nice.
I like that. I love that colour as well. Great colour, isn't it?
That's a good point. Pretty much all these guitars are available in different colours. So again, links in the description below.
One thing I want to mention is to do with the setups of the guitars. Now, any guitar that's come out of the box has had minimal setup time. Probably the robots aren't doing a great job of doing that. They need a little bit of human touch to make them good. If you've got a guitar where the action is a little high and you feel like it should be lowered, I have a course over on my website that I did with a legendary luthier, Charlie Chandler, on how to set up your guitar.
Legend.
So you might want to check that out.
That's a good job.
He is the setup to the stars man, isn't he?
He's the man. Very cool.
Man.
Anyway, that's it. So that's part 1.
Yeah.
All the links in the description below. Hopefully you found this useful. And part 2 is going to be about amps, and probably a lot shorter.
He said and laughed. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like, and go and check out Justin's channel as well for all of his delicious.
He's the best guitar teacher I've ever met
in the world.
Ever.
Ever.
Wow.
There we are.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.